So, we're back with yet another major mid-chapter update for Dead by Daylight. This one featuring a major rework change to the Nightmare, also known as Freddy Krueger. On top of that, there's several other perk changes happening to perks related to his chapter, and on top of that, a Beast of Prey buff. Like usual, we're going to be going over all of the changes, and I'm going to be showing you both visual and written changes happening for everything in the update. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So, starting off with the big one, being Freddy's Rework. After so long, he's finally getting some nice needed changes that drastically help his gameplay be both more fun and efficient. So, starting off with the basic stuff, the Dream Snares and the Dream Pallets are now both part of his base kit. They function similar to Clown's Bottles, where tapping the ability will allow you to swap between the two at any time, and holding it will allow you to trigger your Dream Projection. So, starting off with the Dream Snares. The Dream Snares are now a ground projectile. When you press the charge button, it'll charge over 0.35 seconds, and while it's charged, tap the attack button to launch it forward, and it'll move at a speed of 12 meters a second, and they have a range of 18 meters. The Dream Snares are allowed to go through walls, they go up slopes, but they cannot go off ledges, such as launching it off of a second floor building. So, like usual, survivors take 60 seconds to fall asleep over time. However, if they get hit with a Dream Snare, it'll add 30 seconds to their timer. On top of that, if they are asleep, Dream Snares will now inflict 12% hindered for 4 seconds. The Dream Snares have a 5-second cooldown. This is a much better improvement in comparison to the old function, where Dream Snares were merely a trap placed and could only be afflicted to survivors that were asleep and did nothing to awake survivors, and he had a limit of 5. Now, moving on to the Dream Pallets. They function similarly to how they did before, where if there is a pallet location with no pallet in it currently, it'll show a visage, and it'll allow you to activate your ability and to place a Dream Pallet in its position. Unlike before, Dream Pallets now have a maximum of 8 at a time compared to its used to be 7, and they can be placed at a much further distance of up to 24 meters away. While you're in pallet focus mode, aka the ability to be able to place pallets, you can hit the attack button to rupture it. After a 1.5 second delay, the Dream Pallet will rupture and burst in blood. If the survivor is asleep, it'll add 60 seconds to the survivor's timer and automatically put them to sleep as long as they are not immune, but more importantly, if they are asleep, it will now injure the survivor for 1 health state if they're within the radius. The radius of the pallet is 3 meters and has a 1.5 second cooldown between ruptures. Another note is the pallets can still be dropped by survivors and they will still explode in blood like usual, however they can now stun the Nightmare. So better be careful when you're getting too close to them if you're not planning on rupturing it. Alright, moving on, now we have the Dream Projection, the teleport that typically allows you to teleport to generators. The Dream Projection can now be used to teleport to unrepaired, partially repaired, completed, and even blocked generators at any point during the trial. So even after a generator is complete, you still have the ability to teleport to it, that way it's not completely disabling you from getting to a certain section of the map. Something really nice for quality of life now is when you are activating the Dream Projection, you can now see the husk of where you are going to teleport, so that way you can exactly know which side of the generator or where you are going to appear and what side you're going to be facing. This is going to help you a lot to just not get too disoriented after you teleport. On top of that, when survivors are in the dream world and they are performing the healing action under any circumstance, they will be revealed with Killer Instinct and they can now be used to teleport to them with Dream Projection. The teleport will spawn the Nightmare within 12 meters of the position. Now, if the Dream Projection is held for 0.5 seconds, it'll perform the Dream Projection, and it now takes 2.5 seconds instead of 4 seconds, which is much quicker. The Dream Projection cannot be cancelled, which is later reverted, we'll get to that later, and upon completion, survivors within 8 meters are revealed with Killer Instinct for 3 seconds and gain 15 seconds to their sleep meter. This will help it so that you can kind of tell where survivors are nearby, that way you don't get too disoriented after you appear. On top of that, the Dream Projection overall cooldown has been reduced from 45 seconds to 30 seconds, with a fat 15-second decrease. It's also important to note that the Dream Projection still has the built-in ability where each sleeping survivor reduces the cooldown of the Dream Projection by 15%. Moving on to the alarm clocks and the wake-up function for survivors. Survivors can now use any alarm clock on the entire map to wake themselves up, which used to only be a specific alarm clock that is usually placed on the other side of the map. Using an alarm clock grants you immunity to sleep for 30 seconds like usual. However, using an alarm clock will now cause it to go on a global 45-second cooldown, which prevents everyone from using that particular clock. They'll have to go find a different one. The wake-up interaction, quote, snap, snap, clap, clap, get awake, always takes 5 seconds, and no longer will increase the duration with each interaction on the same survivor. The wake-up interaction now takes priority over healing to prevent survivors being forced to be teleported to by Freddy without getting an alarm clock first. And finally, just a couple of notes involving the dream world itself. There have been some minor visual improvements to the dream world. As you can see, it's just a couple of little effects added to there, just for some nice little flair. And also now, when survivors are put into the dying state, they will now wake up, instead of how it used to be, where they would wake up when put on the hook instead. Alright, now that we have finished talking about all of the public test build changes, we're going to be talking about the after changes that were applied to the public test build version and are going into the live build. So, involving the Freddy changes, they are increasing the hinder duration of the dream snares from 4 seconds to 4.5 seconds, but they are also increasing the cooldown from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. This is mainly just to reduce the spammability of the dream snare while also slightly increasing its effectiveness. It's important to note that 4.5 seconds of hindered is very powerful, and it's good to remember that if you have any amount of hindered, survivors are forced to do slow vaults over windows. After that, the dream pallets are having their rupture range increased from 3 meters to 3.5 meters. On top of that, they are making it so that rupturing pallets can no longer be dropped. The reason why is because if someone pulled down the pallet during its rupturing time, it'll just cancel the rupture. They wanted to make this not as an easy counterpoint and make the dream pallets ultimately useless. After that, the dream projection's getting a couple of changes thanks to some fan reports. They are reintroducing the cancel teleport, where releasing a dream projection now cancels the teleport. However, unlike before, now the canceling of the dream projection incurs the full cooldown. They've also made it so while charging the dream projection, your movement speed will be reduced to 3.86 meters per second. Alright, moving on to the perk changes. Starting up, we have Beast of Prey. An already underused perk is getting a couple of changes just to make it a little bit more existent. When you gain Bloodlust for the first time, you gain Undetectable for 30, 35, or 40 seconds, compared to how it used to be with 10, 15, and 20 seconds. Also, they are removing the Blood Point bonus from this perk, which means I believe that is the final perk in the game to have its Blood Point bonuses removed. They are no longer an existing perk type. After that, Fire Up's getting a pretty nice buff. They are increasing the stackable bonus to be gained from the stacks from 3, 3.5, and 4 to 4, 5, and 6%, meaning the best you can get now is at a 30% solid increase to the following actions. After that, Remember Me is getting another buff. They are allowing the addition of another token, meaning the maximum tokens you can get is 3, 4, and 5 instead of 2, 3, and 4. Also, therefore, increasing the maximum amount of time you can make a gate take longer to open from 12, 18, and 24 to 18, 24 in a maximum of 30 additional seconds. Moving on to the Survivor perks, one of my more liked perks, we have Vigil. They are increasing the range that other survivors get affected by Vigil from 8 meters to 16 meters, and on top of that, they are increasing the effectiveness of Vigil, where it allows you to recover from blindness, broken, exhausted, exposed, hemorrhage, hindered, mangled, oblivious, from 20, 25, and 30% faster to 30, 35, and 40% faster. This means that you'll be shaving off 20% of any status effects that you are afflicted by. And finally, we have Wake Up getting an interesting change. This was originally going to be changed to 50% from 25% of its previous status, but now they are changing it again to increase the opening exit gate speed by 8, 10, or 12.5% for each living survivor at the time, meaning that you can have a minimum of 12.5 if it's just you alive, and that'll increase with each person that's still alive up to a maximum of 50% before. In my personal opinion, I think this should be inverted. If you have all 4 of you alive, a faster opening gate speed is not exactly necessary. I believe the opening gate speed should be faster depending on how little survivors there are. For each person dead, you should get a faster opening speed, because it'll be more important for the person that's last alive to hopefully get a way out, especially if the hatch has been closed, and then it's your only option. After that is one final little thing. They're doing a slight change to the deep wound visual effects, where they're adding a deep wound progress bar underneath the mending bar for better visibility to understand the progress of your deep wounds regression, and they've also removed the darkening vignette of the deep wound effect to make it so it's less clutter on your screen and makes it so it's not as hard to see. Alright, that's going to do it for all of the 8.5.0 mid-chapter update patch notes. I hope you guys found this as informative as always. I try to do as much as I can to show as much as the more important details. As usual, if you guys like this kind of thing, please just let me know down in the comments. I love reading the comments about what you guys think. Makes me happy seeing that some of you guys find this more interesting, and I really like to hear what your thoughts are on the patch notes. It's interesting to have some discussions about what you think and what should be changed. Anyways, until next time, I'll probably get up another video soon. We'll see. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.